This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 34.
Being more focused, just try not to do two things at once. I definitely can't do that. I found that I lose money when I try and do that.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host, who is not any good at grilling, but loves to have cookouts, Clay Trader.
I'm not sure if I should be admitting that or not, but it is what it is. While I love to eat food on the grill, a grill master I am not. But, I'm a big fan of, just you got to admit your weaknesses, and that way you can plan around them. Just like when you're putting together a trade plan, life's just all one big plan, but you got to admit weaknesses, and grilling is a weakness. I think it's because I don't have much passion. Some people really put a lot of passion in their cooking and grilling, which is awesome because I enjoy eating it. I just don't have the passion to actually prepare it. So for those of you out there that have a true passion for grilling, that is fantastic. And, it's a situation where when we have cookouts at my house and our friend or our group of friends comes over, that's where I just have to kind of put the ego aside because I have a couple buddies that are really good at grilling. And I say, hey, would you like to use my grill, and would you be willing to grill? And of course, because they have passion and they like to do it, they're like, yeah, sure. And then I just sit back and, I reap the benefits of me not being an egomaniac and saying, yeah, I'm sweet at grilling, when people would probably die because all the food would be undercooked and I'd get sued into the Stone Age. It would just be a disaster. But we're not going to talk anymore about grilling other than I need to grill, pun intended, my co-host here about a few questions. So, Ches, are you a grill master, or where do you stand on this topic?
My contributions are similar to yours in the sense that I text those grill masters that I do know and I say, what do you need me to buy? And then I get their assurance that they're going to cook it for me. And then just like you, I get to reap the benefits of fully cooked food that generally won't kill me. So I'm in the same boat with you there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that is a key question. What do you need me to buy? What do I need to contribute? So that is a vital importance. And of course, the grill masters, they know exactly all the little things that they need. So we have a great show for you today, especially for those members that are more so members of the Inner Circle, our trading community, and in the chat room, because they know that Curtis has been doing a very good job. That is the name he goes by in the chat room. And like I said, he's doing a very good job. He posts his winners, he posts his losers. And, for those of you that are around, you've seen that, wow, he seems to really be in the groove. However, sure, he's doing fantastic. Sure, he's in the groove. But getting there is not going to be probably a popular answer. He's going to tell us, what it was all about for him, and which I agree 100% with. And I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be popular. However, it is the truth, and it's just a cold, hard reality of this business. And it's the reason why most people just don't make it, because they don't want to acknowledge and don't want to actually go through, what Curtis talks about. So it's a very informative, a very kind of up and down journey. But what Curtis shares, as far as I'm concerned, is just, at the peak of what needs to happen if you want to have any chance at, really starting to find your groove like Curtis has done. So without further ado, let's hop right in. What's going on, Curtis? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's kind of weird. We were just hanging out literally, I guess not a week ago, because you came on Saturday, but at the time of this recording, we just had our meetup in Chicago, and Curtis was one of the people that were there. So I don't want to say this is anticlimactic, but I mean, I've literally hung out with Curtis in person. So this is kind of just, hey man, what's up? What's going on? So I'm super looking forward to this. And I'm going to toot Curtis's horn for him. We had a bowling competition in Chicago, and he took the trophy. So Curtis, outside of being an improving trader, he mopped the floor with Ches and I. I mean, Ches, it wasn't even close. He just smoked us, didn't he?
Yeah, he kind of came. He was a sleeper. He came in out of nowhere and just kind of took us to the woodshed with that. Yep.
Well, I don't know if when he showed up with his own bowling ball, so I had a feeling at that time that there was going to be some bloodshed, and it wasn't going to be.
The thing is, though, is that he wasn't the only one who showed up with his own bowling ball either. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, Mark showed up, and Mark put up a good fight too. But yeah, and Chris was there, so he put up a good fight. But yeah, it was super fun. Did you have fun, Curtis? Was that whole experience pretty worthwhile?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun. I was really looking forward to it when you put it on the calendar. So I was hoping that I wouldn't embarrass myself out there.
No, I mean, if how's your butt doing?
Whoa.
Answer the question, then I'll provide context. This is all by design.
Oh, it's doing all right. Linda wasn't too mean.
Oh, is that her name, Linda?
Yeah.
All right, for all the listeners that were probably like, "What is going on?"
For all the listeners who are reporting this podcast now to iTunes, we apologize in advance for Clay not giving context first, but now he'll give some context.
Yes,
for
this
you.
is all by design. I'm a clever one, aren't I? So we were at this German bar, whatever it was. I mean, after we went bowling, and I guess I should know this since I'm German, but I guess maybe within the German culture, there's a big thing with spanking or something. So Curtis, this nice waitress named Linda, had a big wooden paddle, and because Curtis won the bowling, I kind of threw him under the bus. People wanted me to get the spank, and I said, "Hey, no, do Curtis. He won." But he was man enough to do it, and boy, did she wallop him with that wooden thing. And I asked him because I remember the next day he was literally saying you had some red marks back there. So you look to be sitting down right now, so that's a good sign of improvement, right?
I've fully recovered.
All right. Well, I got to be careful here because, like I said in a webinar a couple nights ago, I could talk the Chicago trip and just reminisce forever, but people are not listening for that. So we better get into your journey here. So let's start at square one. What got you into the markets? When did you first hear about them, and what really kind of piqued your interest enough to pull the trigger to start trading and just putting some money on the line?
Well, I think my first time I ever did anything was I started doing dollar cost averaging with a broker years and years and years ago, and did okay. I mean, it was before '99, so I was putting stuff in tech stocks, and that worked out. Cashed out, and then a few years later, I ended up. I actually knew a pumper. I didn't know she was a pumper until years later, but she told me to buy this penny stock, and it was like 11 cents, and she told me to buy as much as I could. So I did. It was like 11 cents, and it went up to like $1.70 or so, and I got out around $1.47. And when she found out I got out, she was furious because she told me I had to wait until she told me to get out. So
Now, before you go any further, what year was this that she was telling you a position, or she was a pump or whatever?
And also, where did you meet the pumper?
she was a friend of a friend, and it was like I think it was 99.
This is this is like in-person pumping, word of mouth type stuff. This is no Twitter, no Facebook. Wow, this is interesting.
She did fax a lot of people, so now I understand what she was doing.
This is old school.
This is great.
That's how pumpers used to do it before the email list really took off. It was literally faxes. So that sounds about right for that time period. So you had what? You had a fax that she would communicate to you with, or I mean, was she showing up to your house with a baseball bat?
She lived nearby me, friend of a friend, so I'd see her around a lot. And when I told her I sold, I mean, she really was furious, and I was like, "What do you mean? I was up, over 1,000%. I had to get out."
And was that a good decision, or did it keep going up at that point? Or let me ask this. Let me take a step back. How long did you actually hold? So how long did this move take? And then after the move, using hindsight, was that a smart move or kind of a bad move on your part?
I think it was a few months. Might have been a couple months. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But I was very happy to get out. I mean, it went back down to, of course, I told my dad afterwards, and it went back down to less than a tenth of what I bought it at. And my dad loaded up. I don't know.
Yeah.
He'd still be holding it.
Yeah, he might be, or is probably delisted and gone wherever. But yeah. So it sounds like you already had the mindset to take it off at 1,000% gain. It sounds like you weren't dreaming of mansions and helicopters and anything like that. So why is that? Where was the greed? We're waiting for the greed. Usually people kind of get sucked up into these things and then lose a bunch of money. Did you just have a kind of level head and realize that this was kind of a scam, or I guess did you know that this was a kind of a pump and dump type thing back then, or not at all?
No way. I had those dreams of mansions and everything. I was thinking this thing could go to $10 and I'll be just killing it. But I was buying a house, so I cashed out. and the timing could not have been better because I think it dumped less than 2 or 3 weeks later.
I like that. I like how you just basically admitted that the only reason you got out was because of the house, because, quote, the timing couldn't have been any better. So is it safe to say that if that house life event had not been happening, that you would have probably ridden it all the way back down?
Probably. Probably.
Well, that was super good timing then. So, well, that's so before that, I mean, you were just doing what, blue chips, or was this one of your literal first trades, or were you just, I mean, mutual funds? What were you doing even before you got to this penny stock?
This was the first trade that I actually did myself. Other than that, just a 401k. So
Really,
this was cost averaging.
This was a first one. Wow. Well, that's okay. So at the end of this, when you sold and took the profits, did you think you had the whole game figured out? I mean, was this some sort of fool's gold, or I mean, where did you go from here? Because I mean, I don't know about you, and I don't want to speak for you or Ches, but I'd imagine that most people would be like, "Hey, I'm good at this. This is easy. I nailed pretty close to the top." I mean, what was your mindset after this, and then going forward?
I'd be loading the boat and thinking that I could do this every time. So yeah, what did you think?
I had like maybe $500 left in the brokerage account. It's one of those ones, back in '99, the websites back then were so basic. So I'd bought a few more pennies with some people that I knew at work, and nothing ever happened. So, but luckily I didn't have much in there, so it didn't really. I lost the fever. I mean, I didn't trade again until over 10 years later.
So what actually led you back 10 years later after that? What was it? Was there a specific event, or did you just have some more capital you wanted to kind of spread around and make some returns on?
There's a guy I was watching his blog. He used to trade in Chicago, and he made a lot of money when he was young, and at 28 he cashed out, bought a boat with his wife, and they sailed around the world. Then they drove around the world, and he hasn't been back to work since, and he's just kind of managed trades and used his little system. And he wrote a book, and I didn't follow the rules in the book, so it didn't. Looking back, I mean, the rules were pretty simple. If I followed them, it would have made money, but that's what really got me going back in end of 2012.
So you just came across this guy on the internet or whatever, and that's kind of what just drew you back in?
Yeah, and it wasn't trading. It was his travels, and then he said he was going to write a book, and for over a year, I was anticipating the release of this book.
So it was literally, you weren't even searching for, stock market stuff. You were searching just what you were curious about, traveling or something, and that's how you came across it?
Pretty much.
Interesting. So you got back into the markets you weren't even searching for the market. So I think that's a first, Chaz. I don't think usually everybody's like, no, I want to get in the markets because I want to get in the markets. Not, I got in the markets because I was actually searching for something totally different.
Right, yeah, you kind of sidestepped into it versus people who are like, yeah, that's my goal, that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, that's definitely unique compared to other people we've interviewed so far.
So the guy laid out some rules in his book, and was this stock trading? Was it, I mean, what kind of vehicle was he using?
It was options. And it was really simple. Just watch for things that are overdone one way or another, and play the bounce or play the fade, and wait for confirmation on the candles, and all on a 60-minute. This is all on 60-minute. So it was real slow. But it didn't work for me because it wasn't my style.
Interesting. So not your style. I think we're going to get more into that later on. I mean, but that's amazing how that works. Just because there's a book or a video or a course or anything out there, if they're trying to teach you some exact specific style, you could very well get yourself in trouble, because if it doesn't fit your personality, then it's just not going to work out. It's this whole thing is a game of personality. And I was listening, I don't know where I heard it, but somebody said trading is like an art form. Everybody's got to kind of create their own picture. You got to put your own little twist on things. I mean, you have the paintbrush and the easel, I think it's called, and the thing you paint on. I don't even know what that's called. Can you tell I'm an artistic person? But I mean, it's up to you. Got to learn how to use the tools. But after you learn that, then you can go and put your own twist on things. So yeah, that's a good little point there. So you tried options. You were breaking rules all over the place. And this was in what, about 2009-ish, if my math's right?
No, this was in 2013.
Okay. So then,
Yeah.
okay, so that
Beginning
makes
of
sense because in
2013.
99 was the trade. And then you did say you played more pennies for, I guess, a few more years. And then 10 years later, you finally got back into it. So is that a pretty accurate timeline there then?
Yep. Yep.
All right. So 2013. I mean, how are you feeling mentally? I mean, are you down on yourself at this point? Because I'm presuming you lost money since you weren't following the guy's rules. I mean, what was your mental state at this point?
I was just thinking, if I can figure this out, it's going to be really good. So
Figure this out. What is this?
figure out trading. Figure out something that's going to work for me. Because I mean, there's so many different styles that fit different personalities. I didn't really see that until I read the Market Wizards series, and everybody says that you don't know what's going to work for you until you kind of lose money doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to look at it. Is at some point in time, you just got to put money out there and see what happens with it. Which is why I always tell people, even after you paper trade, start super small. That way, if you do lose money, I mean, okay, it's nothing huge. I mean, you're not going to make a lot of money, but like Curtis is saying, it at least lets you feel out, is this really practical or not? So 2013, you read through this Market Wizards thing. What's your next step from there?
Yeah, after the books, I kept looking for different things that would work for me, and I wasn't sure, so I just kept reading more and more and more. There's an endless amount of information out there, so I tried to read as much as I could.
Did all this reading come from books, or is this internet, or is this like YouTube? I mean, where was all this random kind of information coming from? Was it straight up books, or were you using other sources?
Most of it was books. The Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, read that. That was a good one. There's all these books, they were kind of timeless books, I think. So they were helping me kind of find my way, I guess.
But they weren't quite getting you to where you wanted to be. Find your way, ... But so, I mean, what was still, I mean, you're reading through all these books. It sounds like you're consuming quite a bit of knowledge. Were you still putting trades on at this point in time, or had you pulled back from the market and just, where was kind of the status of your actual trading account at this point in time?
On pause. So after a while, I just, I did realize I needed to pause. So that's what I did. And then, when was it? About late February, mid-February. That was because that was in the winter, or late 2013. I was reading a lot, and then late February, got into Joe, which is coffee, because there was a big drought in Brazil. So had some calls on Joe, J-O, that quadrupled, I guess. I mean, it was really fast. And then cashed out of some, but then went back for more. So we all know how that works out. So
So did you give back all of the profits you had, or just some of them?
some of them.
But did this kind of reignite the trading spark for you? Was that the trade that kind of made you come back to trading?
It did. And my girlfriend, she was watching it diligently as well. So we had our eyes on coffee, like, first thing in the morning, last thing before bed. So trying to read if there were crop reports. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, she was your regulatory agency. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a
you.
good little accountability partner there. I like that, though. Regulatory agency. Not well played, Ches.
So you guys you're trading coffee now. You're being, really, really diligent as far as kind of following reports and things like that. When did you decide to branch out into kind of more trades, or, when did you decide that maybe you didn't want to just focus strictly on coffee?
Actually, I want to let's go back a second here, Curtis, out of curiosity, because I think we can make a super good learning point from this. So when you went back for coffee a second time and then you took a loss, did your girlfriend help you just take the loss in terms of, hey, let's just salvage some of her money? Do you think if she wouldn't have been there, do you think that you could have possibly had all those gains wiped away? Or, I mean, did that help out having a support system there, or didn't that really play any factor?
No, we were both definitely responsible for the loss together, because we we both had the same issue, thinking that it was going to be, thinking it was going to keep going up.
But in
So,
regards to actually cutting the, because you said you still escaped with some net, you had a net profit both trades, right?
yeah, I think no, not the second time. The second time we did not have a profit.
Right, but
So
the second trade, did that loss wipe away all the profits from your first trade?
it might have been close.
Oh,
It might
okay.
have been
All right.
close.
I thought you had still come out green, so I was curious if at least you guys working together had potentially helped each other to realize, hey, I know on our first trade we did really well, but we don't want to wipe away all our first trade's profits with the second trade. But it sounds like the second trade pretty much wiped everything away then.
Yeah, I wish us working together would have resulted in keeping some more of those games, but it just didn't happen. So
Okay. All right. Well, I was waiting for I thought I was gonna have a moment of shining glory where I could put together a great learning point, but sounds like that's what happens when you tell people to be honest. We could have I should have had Curtis just lie and say, oh yeah, she helped me, and then it would have been beautiful. But
We could have
She's helped
scripted
me a
really well,
ton.
but
since then, she's
Yeah, we
definitely helped me a ton since then. So
okay. Well, Ches, I'll let you take it because you're gonna ask him a question, or I think you already did before I totally cut everybody off and just derailed this whole conversation. So to listeners out there, I take full responsibility. But Ches is gonna right the ship here. So Ches, show us your skills.
yeah, all right, Clay, see yourself out. IT Nate, you are now in to fill in for Clay's spot for the rest of the podcast from here on out. But
That's why you got Employee of the Month, man. Earn it right now.
he was not very happy about that either. But
Yeah, he was not happy.
anyways, back to Curtis here. So you're trading coffee. You want to move forward. Were you going to try to read some more books, or were you looking into kind of trading chat rooms or alert services, anything like that at that time? Or you're still trying to kind of find your way, where you're going to fit and kind of start taking money out of the market consistently?
there was one guy who did a recap using the scanner tool that I have. He did a daily recap, and I started watching him. So then I started making a watch list and action list based on what he would kind of described, and ours wouldn't overlap. So I was doing it based. He was giving criteria, and then I was trying to whittle it down from there, and it worked. But I was, instead of trading just shares, I was trading options. So I would see all these great tickers that were moving, but I try and trade these ridiculous option spreads of like 45 cents or almost $1 sometimes, and that's ridiculous. I mean, there's no way unless it's a freight train, I'm going to be able to get out. So
No.
I'm down as soon as I get in.
Yeah, okay, good. Because there's new people listening, they're going to say big spreads. That's not going to mean anything to them. Why is a big spread ridiculous? So why is a big spread ridiculous? Give us kind of a perspective on that sense for the new people listening that don't even understand why you would say that.
So the bid and ask would be the ask would be $1.50 and the bid would be $1. So I want to make sure I get in. I'm trying to get to the middle of between $1 and $1.50, and it wouldn't fill. So then I would have to slap the ask and get in at $1.50. So then right away I'm down. If I want to get out, I'm down $50.
There you
I
go.
got one
That's
contract. So
yep. What if he wants to get out? We're not going to turn this into a whole level 2 lesson, but with the big spreads, Curtis gets in at $1.50 of his example. If he wants out now, he's got to hit the bid, and if the bid's at $1, well, then he's taking a $50 loss in and of itself. So yeah, good little learning lesson there. And so what ticker symbols were these that had the big spreads back then? Or I guess not back then. It's not that long ago at this point.
they were thin volume on the options. So they were moving like crazy, but it wouldn't matter because there'd only be like 200 in volume a day.
Right. Okay.
But
so
I did make money on some, which was great. But I should have narrowed it down to a small basket of movers.
Okay. So you made money on some, but did the ones where you didn't make money, was that wiping out all your gains?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sensing a little risk management problem here in your trading at this point in time, because you're just up and down, up and down. You're winning, but you're losing, and that's something I think everybody can relate to. Is I win, but then I give away all my gains, and that's why I always say winning is not the hard part in trading. It's hanging on to your gains that is going to make you succeed in this business. So you're trading these wide option or widespread options. It sounds like up and down, up and down. So, I mean, what happens next? Where does your trading journey take, from this point?
It narrowed a little bit. I realized I needed stuff with with more volume on it. So I was trading like IWM, which was the Russell 2000. It's like the equivalent of SPY. Real tight bid-ask spread. So
Now, did you find more success with that as far as kind of managing your losers at this point, since you didn't have to kind of, jump across the spread?
no, I still got in my own way. I wasn't able to. I would have a great day, and for some reason, I would see the profit and loss be up like 10% for the day, and I'd end 1.5%, and then or I'd be up 2% and I'd end 3 or 4%. So I couldn't cash in. I don't know what was going on in my head, but I couldn't close. It was killing me.
And I know we talked a little bit about this when we were actually in Chicago a couple weeks ago, but is safe to say that the problem was greed? You said you kind of mentioned that you had problems taking profits when they were there. Was that safe to say?
Yeah, it's amazing how your brain gets in its own way.
Yeah, the psychology and stuff that goes into trading is always kind of mind blowing. How it's wired completely wrong for how to really manage your risk and kind of take winners off at good point. So I mean, I guess you recognize that you're letting profits go off the table. You're up big and then you kind of slips away back. What did you decide to do to kind of change that? What were you going to try to kind of fix in your trading? Was it a mentality thing, or was it your chart knowledge, or was it the names you're trading? What was it?
It was losing enough money in the account where I didn't have a choice. I needed to back up and start to kind of have a heart-to-heart with myself and say, what are you doing here?
That's a good way to put it, a heart-to-heart with yourself. And yeah, when your account's losing money, it really doesn't matter what your opinion is, whose fault it is, what's going on. At the end of the day, that when the numbers don't lie, and if the numbers keep going down, then that can be a great, all right, let's sit down with myself. And again, I said it before, you may be thinking, what is this guy talking about, having a heart-to-heart with himself? Trust me, in trading, you get to meet all sorts of voices, and eventually you're going to need to have a heart-to-heart with the voices and start to strategize with them, figure out which are the good voices and which are the bad ones. So you need to have a heart-to-heart with yourself. How long did this heart-to-heart happen? And then, where did you kind of go from there?
Well, just before that, like about a month before, I got robotic trading. So I was learning a lot from that. But the psychology part is still, that's the knowledge is easy. The psychology, I think, is the hardest part. So even though I took the course and, I was trying to apply what I learned, it still didn't really help. It didn't click.
Okay. And that's a great point. So robotic trading is my course. And I see this a lot. Just because you buy my course or somebody else's course, that doesn't mean that all your problems are fixed and that you're going to be $1 million trader. So I'm really glad Curtis said that. I really wish I could sit here and say, hey, if you buy my course, you're going to make a lot of money. Now, a lot of marketing says that, but that's just not the truth. There's a lot more that goes through it. And I can't wait till we get to because I know where all this is headed, but you just buying a course and then trading is just not how it works. There's a lot more fine tuning that needs to happen. So you bought the course, you invested into your education, but just because you invest into your education, spending money on a course doesn't guarantee you're going to make money. So, I mean, what happens? What finally kind of triggers you to be like, you know what? I really need to just do something different. And then, where did that path start to go?
Well, the scanner program that I use, it has an automated feature, so I can I was trying to automate all of your rules from robotic trading and put them, get me out of the equation. If I could automate it and backtest it, then I could go ahead and say, all right, computer, go do it. I'm not in the way. And it was interesting. I mean, I tested stuff for like 4 months. And then when I finally went live with like small size, like 50 shares, it appeared to work, but then it just wasn't, the API between the two didn't work exactly as it was supposed to, and the support wasn't that great. So I was like, you know what, this could be another expensive lesson. So I think that was the first time I emailed you and said, hey, I stopped using this and started doing my discretionary trading instead. And it kind of clicked then.
It's kind of it's also tough as well. I know you said you're doing testing and stuff, which is good, but it's tough to leave your entire portfolio in the hands of the computer when so many things could go wrong. A power outage could happen, anything like that. And I know you could have some things in the cloud and, operating from other places, but it's tough to let go. And at the same time though, the computer only knows those rules you tell it, which is great and all. But the thing is that I don't actually believe trading is as cut and dry as every time this triggers you buy, every time this triggers you sell. And, we've had a lot of discussions before about people searching out the holy grail as far as, the MACD cross plus the RSI overextended plus this percent and this amount of candles and stuff. And it's tough to do. It's great. It's easy to kind of quantify what you want the computer to do. But sometimes you'll look at that setup and say, we're in the middle of nowhere land. Like, this is not a good place to be trading. So, yeah, it's definitely tough. That's really interesting, though. You're probably, I think, the only person we've interviewed who's actually tried to automate their trading. So that's pretty cool.
And what I found interesting, he said it did work, but there was just, I think it sounds like a flaw in the technology where he didn't have confidence in the technology. So, I mean, that's a problem. I mean, it takes money to make a lot of money. So these supercomputers, I mean, those things are hundreds of millions of dollars that these firms are spending. But good to know that it worked to an extent, but you just didn't have confidence in the technology itself. So I do remember that email now because, like Ches just said, I don't think there's ever been anybody else that said, hey, I took your course and then I tried to throw it all into an automated program. So I do remember that email. So you said, now I'm waiting for you to, when do we get to the part where you use, the PT? That's what it stands for. So when does that part of your journey happen? Do you know what I mean by PT? Paper trading?
There's more.
I'm waiting for you to talk about how great that video is because nobody ever watches that stinking thing, but it's probably the most important one I've ever made.
Well, right after I did that, and I was trading without the computer again. It was just me. I was doing well, but then I was still getting in my own way, I think. So I had some great success, and then I had two bad trades, and they really hurt. They didn't wipe me out, but they really hurt. So I think it changed like my psychology. That was about 2 months after that I sent you that email. So I was trading well for like 2 months. Then I had two really bad trades, and then I just kind of muddled along. And then I fat fingered one that ended up being a halt. And when it opened back up, I was like, oh, and it was over just like that. So it blew me up, and I thought, wow, that I can't believe it just ended again like that. So
halts are a joke, which I should say. And I've had a couple halts work in my favor, but I've also had some I'm like, okay, thanks a lot. If anybody from the SEC is listening to this, stop halting stocks. Just let the market do its thing. I mean, when you're trying to protect one group of people, you're screwing over a whole other group of people. So it's such a, that's my little rant for the day, but I can't stand halts. And like I said, I've had plenty that work in my favor. But even at that time, I know you're not supposed to feel sorry for people because this is the market, but it's like, well, the people on the other side of the trade totally just got hosed over right there. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of these halts at all because I think it just hurts more people than it helps. But Ches, did you want to rant at all? Did you have any opinions on this?
Oh, I was just gonna say, similarly to what you just said, is that usually it works against you more than it works for you, though. But yeah, I've actually been unfortunately involved in that as well. But yeah, it usually always goes against me more so than it ever goes for me.
Yeah. So you sounds like this halt really just smacks you upside the head, kind of like that German waitress did. So the halt, let's make an analogy here. The halt was like that wooden paddle that just smacked you upside the backside. And I mean, so mentally, where are you at? Are you on the edge of wanting to give up, or what's going on in your mind at this point?
Well, it was right before Christmas, and I remember I went for a 20-mile walk. I was so just shocked. I walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and walked. And, it was kind of like, what am I doing? I need to step back because I wasn't trading great before, or even well before that. I was just kind of, muddling along. So On January 1st, I started. I got a few notebooks. Those great little moleskin. I think they're called moleskin notebooks. Yeah, they stay together real well. They don't get ratty. They keep. You don't lose any pages. And I started paper trading, and I
Was
did
this
everything.
before or after you watched the video that you like?
I had definitely watched that video, yeah,
Okay.
because I think you did the first one that summer maybe.
Yeah, yeah. We'll link both of those videos in the show notes. But the one I was telling Curtis in Chicago, because he was just like, that video was awesome. That's what really got me going. And it's like one of the least viewed videos, which it's just, again, the data is like, well, I guess that's why 90% of people fail, because probably the most important video that I've ever done is one of the least watched, because probably nobody wants to learn the video is called How to Paper Trade with a Purpose. I give you a spreadsheet that you can use to do it. I explain how to use it and how to properly paper trade. But yeah, like I said, it's one of the worst viewed videos I've done. And yet it's probably the most important one, as Curtis, as you're going to find out. So you start paper trade. And what I love about Curtis is, notice what he said. He didn't go and sign up for some trading simulator. He didn't go and open up some paper trading platform. He went and bought a freaking notebook, old school style.
A good notebook, simple as that.
And I'm assuming you had some sort of pen or pencil, but pen, pencil, and a notebook. Don't get me wrong, trading simulators, paper trading programs, they have their place. But at the end of the day, as far as the data that I'm collecting, and I collect more and more of it every single day by the emails I get, by the people we interview here, that stuff creates a lot of false confidence when you're in those sorts of programs. People eventually get it figured out, but I don't think I've ever come across anybody that says, I did a trading simulator, and then the first time I went live, it was beautiful. So I realized paper and pencil and pen don't sound too attractive, but that's what really stuck out to me is you decided, you know what, I'm going old school. So you got your notebook, you got your pen. What happens from there?
Just kept a log. I mean, I traded every single day for the first 90 minutes to 2 hours. I just write the symbol S or B for short or buy, the number of shares. I would just use 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then the price, and then I would immediately write what my takeout was. And I was basically just trying to do quick scalps and get in and out. I would never try and carry another a winner. I would just try and get in, get out, get in, get out. And probably 95% of my trades were in and out without building a bigger position. But my rule was I would build 2 more times. So I was trying to keep it very realistic to what I would do once I started again. And everything was exactly as I do it today. I have the same alerts going. I had the same platform. Everything. So there was no variation of what I'm doing now compared to what I was doing on paper.
So a lot of people, including myself, we hear a lot of pushback in the sense that when you're paper trading, it doesn't feel real. They're more likely to take kind of positions that they normally wouldn't have. Did you ever kind of feel that way at all, or did you always? I mean, it's not like you were new to the market, so I kind of understand that you know what you're looking for, you kind of know what you're willing to risk per trade. But a lot of people say that it just doesn't feel real, and they don't trade when they go back live the same way that they did when they traded on paper. Did you ever get a feeling like that?
The funny thing was, like, one of the first days I traded, my rule that I used every 50 cents when something's moving fast. For some reason, I thought, oh, it's moving way too fast. I'm gonna move it up to like $1 or 75 cents. Well, because I missed that, then it went past me, and I would have gotten out with a profit, which I was looking for. But then I didn't build that position, and then it dipped a little and then took off, and then here I was just stuck, and I'm like, it was like my second or third day, and I just kind of froze. I'm like, no, I can't believe this. And then it never came back. So I did the worst thing possible. I held it overnight because it went up and then just flatlined. The next morning it came right back, and I ended up overall it was like a $70 loss. it came right back to me. Thankfully, but that really, really, really sucked.
But like you said, if you would have followed your rules that you'd been practicing this whole time, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah, I mean, so after that, though, I mean, I feel like, I mean, let's go. I want to talk about your log a little bit more. Were you jotting down like feelings you had, or was it just strictly numbers? I mean, how in depth was this log? Because I know this will probably be pretty popular among people. You know, how do you keep a proper log? Is it really just numbers, or were you jotting down? You know, I was feeling super anxious, or I felt really good doing this, or I mean, how in depth was the documentation? That's probably the best way to ask this question.
some I could see where I wrote like dead cat or listen to Tony, which is Tony Gwynn. I keep him on my my monitor because he always hits singles. And
Okay, I like that. Okay.
a couple times I try and stretch it out to like 30 cents instead of 15 or 20, and then I'd be like, listen to Tony, listen to Tony. So I just write Tony real big.
I love it. I love it. That's a great way to trick or to just remind yourself. Tony Gwynn, just hit the singles.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, just a couple times I'd write dead cat or use Fibonacci's to find a great exit or something like that. But not a lot of notes. But at the top, I just have the date, the day of the week, and then I'd have my watch list. And then, I mean, there wasn't much to it.
Okay, so
it's pretty simple.
So it's not like you need a PhD to create the trading journal you had. It was, at the end of the day, pretty simplistic. It was just a matter of doing it and doing it properly in terms of the documentation and being honest with yourself in regards to entry and exit points. Is that pretty much, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, so you have this one where you want to do every 50 cents, and then, oh crap, I just broke my rule, and it turned out $70 loss. So, I mean, from that, was that finally like, is that what kind of smacked you upside the head and said, look, dummy, listen to these rules? Actually, you never got to that. How long did you paper trade for? Because this was a point that I think dropped a lot of jaws in Chicago, and like, because Curtis has been doing very well, very, very well. So everybody wants to know, hey, what's Curtis? I want to trade like Curtis. And then Curtis is honest, and you can always see in people's eyes like, oh, really? So how long did you paper trade for?
January 1st or January 2nd, I think it was, until I see my first, the day I had that bad trade was June 4th. So then I stopped trading because I was like, maybe I need some more paper. So I went for like another month and I did paper again. And then another time I just got frustrated with myself. So I stopped again for a month. So I never strung together more than a few days in a row. It wasn't until July 24th. So from January 1st till I had like 10 days of trading in June and July combined until the 24th of July, when I finally felt comfortable enough what I was practicing to do it.
Curtis, I don't have that kind of time to get rich and buy this Lamborghini and this mansion I've been pricing out and dealing with realtors. So I mean, I was going to say, need a shortcut here, or
Ches, I was going to say, I mean, I'm not a PhD in mathematics, but that sounded like 6 to 7 months of pretty much paper trading, Ches. Do you
6 to 7 months of not making millions of dollars? I don't know if I can handle that, guys. And
but surely there could have been a penny stock you could have shorted and made millions of dollars during that time.
You could have just shorted the entire penny stock market, and I mean, you could definitely have been rich.
I mean, all penny stocks go down, right? So therefore, it's really that easy. Just short a penny stock because they all go down.
They never go up. They never go up exponentially for some time. No, definitely not.
Yeah. So
only when you make a chart do they go down.
Yeah, but what I love about this, and I don't know if we've ever had this, but it's like you had a stop loss on your trading as a whole, meaning as soon as you didn't feel comfortable or you thought you got frustrated, you're like, all right, stop loss, back to paper. You didn't try to force a round peg through a square hole and say, I'll figure it out. But a lot of people do that, but I'm going to keep using real money. You're like, nope, that's it, back to paper. So that's pretty cool how you literally had kind of a stop loss on your whole trading with real money.
Yeah, I like that, Clay. It's almost like he had a stop loss on himself based on his kind of underlying trading. That's it's pretty funny how that kind of relates to just trading, having stop losses in place to kind of minimize your losses. So I like that a lot. But so when you did decide to go live now, because I know you had stopped yourself when you felt things were shaky, Did you, what kind of size were you using? Were you using the same size as you were using prior to paper trading, or did you decide to really scale back some and then kind of build into kind of more comfort back to that larger size you were using?
I started even smaller than what I was paper trading. I halved it again, and then after I was comfortable, after 2 or 3 weeks, then I went to what I was paper trading, and then I just set goals from there to expand it.
So put some, because this is a crucial point. You were paper trading with, what were you paper trading with? 100 shares? What was your lot size?
200.
Okay, 200. So notice what he did when he went live. He halved it. So he actually went smaller than paper. Now, why did you do that exactly, Curtis? I mean, because a lot of people, they don't do that at all. Heck, some people I know actually increase their share size. But why would you go smaller than what you were in paper?
Because I was nervous still, I guess. I didn't want to screw up. I didn't want to fat finger. I still wasn't doing keystrokes when I wrote things in my notebook, so I wanted to make sure I was doing that right. And then once muscle memory kind of took over, and I was comfortable, then I was able to go to 200.
So are you using the hotkeys and stuff?
No.
Oh, okay.
I still type it in, use the up and down arrow.
Okay, kind of little old school.
Yep.
Does that ever get you in trouble?
Yeah, I mean, just like in your videos, you're like, oh, what happened? Why am I long?
Yeah.
Or why am I short? It just, and sometimes it takes like 30 seconds where you're just looking at it, and by then, I mean, things can move quickly. So it's definitely it still happens. So that never really, I mean, you've been trading for a really long time with Lightspeed, and you know that platform in and out. And
Oh yeah. I did one today where I thought that a number was something, but it was actually like 100 something. So it automatically filled me on one side of the trade. I'm like, wait, why am I in? And then I realized, oh crap, I had a number way off. I don't, how did that extra one get in there? So it was just, I don't think there's any way you can correct it anyway. So I mean, it is what it is. But I want to start to talk about some things in terms of, because I know that, like I said, a lot of people in the inner circle, hey, what's Curtis doing? So I mean, what are some of your favorite indicators? Do you have any sort of, what's kind of your go-to strategy?
my go-to strategy really is just price movement. Things will start go, one of the alerts is nuts or something overextended, and then I'll quickly look at it, do a 15-minute and a daily and a weekly chart, see if there's some spot close by. If not, I'll just pick something another 75 cents higher, and put a fishing order in. And then I'll put another 50 cents above that, another fishing order, because sometimes they'll fly through. And
So, sorry, go ahead.
you'll just get that lucky fill right at the top sometimes, if it gets very overextended for a couple seconds.
Yeah, it sounds like if I was an outside observer and didn't know you at all, based on what you said, it really looks like you found your strength in the ability to kind of scale out into profit. And I think that's like a complete kind of 180 based on how you were talking about your beginning trading, where you'd kind of, watch these profits come and then not take any at all. But now you realize that you just want to kind of ladder out along the way and just take the money that's available. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I was
thinking the same thing from where he started, where he just would never take any profits and he would never take anything and never take anything. And I mean, I have more of an inside look because, he's in the chat room and such and that. But yeah, now I know you're managing trades, you're letting trades work for you. Sure, you're taking profits to mitigate that risk and so forth, but you're also just, hanging on to some things too. So, I mean, so I'm curious. So you do, if there's nothing on the chart, you said you look at the 60-minute, the 15-minute, and the 30-minute, and the daily, right?
The daily, yeah, and the weekly too. Sometimes the monthly.
Okay. So you're looking at, but let's say, all right, there's nothing that makes sense. We'll just leave it at that. According to the chart, there's nothing that makes sense. So in that regard, is it always 75 cents more than the price? Is that kind of a hard line rule for you, or does that number fluctuate a little bit?
No, just it fluctuates. I mean, it depends how fast it's moving. So
So there is some quote unquote feel that comes with this. This is not like a black and white system. It's not automatically 75 cents. It's just you got to see how fast it's moving. You got to, you just there's a lot of feel that goes into it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So and that's a problem with a lot of people is I just want somebody to tell me, okay, at this point I do that, and then I do that, and then I do that. And when you're scalping and day trading, now in what Ches is doing, he can be more mechanical by swing trading options. But with what Curtis is doing, I mean, there is a little bit of a feel that comes with it, where you just got to understand the level twos, you got to understand the charts, and then you just watch the price action and make those decisions for you. So are you telling me that you don't have like a million different indicators? So are you using RSI, MACD, the CMF, I mean, you're not using any of that other stuff? I mean, some of these charts I see out there, Curtis, have like 8 million indicators below them. Are you telling me that's not necessarily required?
No, I just use the only charts I look at. I have one chart that has tabs at the bottom for 1, 2, 5, 15, 60, daily, weekly, monthly. The crappy light speed charts. And then I have a little SPY chart at the bottom just so I can see if, the moves are related to the overall market.
How many monitors do you use?
I use one monitor for trading, and the other one just has my trade ideas that pop up. But I rarely look at it. I just have it there so I can glance over and see.
So you can kind of say like, yeah, I'm a trader. I got 2 monitors. Is that pretty much what serves the purpose of that? You're just to make sure you're still a cool guy.
Yeah, I did try and use 3 monitors, and it was distracting. I was like, I got to get this thing out of here. So
Are you telling me that my 8-monitor setup is not going to give me an advantage in the market because I only have 2 physical eyeballs and can only look at one place one time?
Yeah, that's funny when people are, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and buy 6 monitors. I think I smell a little analysis by paralysis by analysis in that situation. So that's funny. That's funny. Well, we got to start to wrap things up, but I'm curious here because, like I said, and I like you because you'll post your losers too. So we know that you're doing very nicely for yourself. But I mean, what do you think you do really well at this point in your journey? And then what are some things that you still want to work on?
I still read the psychology books all the time because I don't think that's just some switch that goes off and you end up able to do everything correctly, because your mind gets in the way all the time. I mean, just like this week, I've not traded well because I've got a lot of stuff going on with work too, but I just haven't traded well, and because I get distracted, and I got to realize that I can't do that. So being more focused, just try not to do 2 things at once. I definitely can't do that. I found that I lose money when I try and do that.
Yeah, and there's by no means, there's people who think that they could, trade from their phone while working a full-time job while dealing with the customer, and it really does require your full attention. And Curtis just explained that it will cost you money if you don't have your kind of full attention on it.
Yeah, if you're trying to be a day trader like Curtis is, defining a day trader where you care about what's happening every 5 minutes, every minute, every 15 minutes, then yeah, what the situation Ches just described is not going to work. Now, that's just one type of trading. Now, if you're swing trading options and you only need to check out, the price maybe once or twice a day, then sure, that's a whole different situation. But for what Curtis is saying, we're talking about intraday day trading. I want in and out, very quick, just hop, pretty much, if you watch my videos on YouTube, that sort of style, we're in and out very quickly. So important distinction there in terms of, what Ches is saying. Yeah, if you want to be, a day trader, but you have a phone call with a customer, and then you got, all these other windows open, and you're trying to answer an email for some other customer, it's probably not going to work out well. So that's a good point, and that's interesting, Curtis, that right now you want to work on just, hey, I got work stuff going on right now, therefore trading needs to get pushed off to the side. So that's something, a good little goal to work on. But what do you think you do very well? So what's a couple things that you can really feel confidence in?
Mimicking your style in your videos.
So you're really good at puppet trading me when I give my hot stock tips in the chat room?
I love watching them, and we usually trade the same symbols, although sometimes I'll trade like 15 in a day. But
right. I do want to give a disclaimer there real quick though. He's saying in hindsight, so no means do I put up he's not watching me trade. There's not a live stream in the chat room and he's watching me. He's just saying that after I release the videos, which is also after he's already traded too. So I don't want, he's just more making a joke that, he's doing the style that he sees, but he's not physically, okay, I'm watching Clay trade right now as it occurs, and then I'm doing that, and then I'm doing that. So he's not, did that make sense, Ches, what I'm trying to get across there? Because I don't want people to sign up and be like, where's the live trade stream that Curtis uses so he can mimic Clay?
I don't know what Clay's talking about, guys. I watch Clay's live trading screen every day. He's got this website. It's like watchclaytrade.biz.uk. something or other, and it only costs me about $1,000 a month. So yeah, I don't know what he's saying that he doesn't do that, but yeah, no, he doesn't actually do that stuff, guys. So, but they trade a very similar style that can be, you, Curtis, and Nate Wilson. You guys are like the quote unquote typical Clay similar style scalping strategy. And what's cool to see is that you kind of figured out how, with your laddering out, how to really kind of make that work for you. And that's really cool to see.
And Chad is venturing into that territory right now at present time. He's doing it the right way. So shout out to you, Chad. We'll have you on here sooner than later.
Chad is on his journey to becoming a scalping master, such as you guys. But really want to thank you for taking the time out of your day right now, Curtis. It's been a pleasure, and I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy this podcast. But we're going to take it to some fun questions. Obviously, the first fun question I do have, which is because I own the device and Clay doesn't have any rights to it anymore because his mine shares have never arrived in my mailbox. But
that's true.
If you had the ability to use my time machine, go back to the beginning of your trading and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
Practice.
Define practice a little bit more, because practice does not
trade.
make perfect, right? Perfect practice makes perfect. So you got to define practice.
Just paper trade. That's all I would tell myself. Like, I would have saved a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, a lot of money.
So practice with paper.
Yep.
And then practice a little bit more.
And then even practice just a little bit more after that. And then you're almost ready. Then you need to practice a little bit more, and then you might be ready.
Yep. But then you should probably practice at least a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I know most people say, nope, screw that. I'm going in. Let's get this money on the line. But for the one listener that hopefully we can convince of that, that's truly how this business works. All right. Now we got to really talk about some fun stuff. What is your favorite movie, sir?
Oof. Maybe Tombstone or An Affair to Remember.
Affair to Remember. I don't think who's in that one?
That's an oldie. That's like from the 40s.
Okay, yeah, I've definitely never heard of that one. I've watched Tombstone. That's a pretty good one. That was a pretty good one. I thought for sure it was going to be Frozen, but
I have a theory that that's your favorite movie. That's what
Let it go.
Stick with it.
Let it go. I just sang on the podcast. We may have to edit that out.
Would you save the singing for your singing podcast, which is debuting at the January 1st?
Hey, my daughter likes it, okay? So back off, everybody. I don't need any hate mail because my daughter thinks I have a beautiful voice. Ask him the next fun question. This is really derailing quickly, so let's get back on the path.
Curtis, what's your favorite meal?
German beer?
Beer, sure. I make a pretty mean pork chop with a nice glaze on it that I like. But I don't know. I cook a lot of different stuff that I like, so I can't really say it's one thing or another.
You also like Costco rotisserie chickens, right?
Oh, that is one of the world's best, most economical foods. $4.99, unbelievable.
We had a long conversation about that in Chicago. I don't even know how that came up. I think we must have been talking about dieting. Who knows? Anyways, what about music? What kind of music do you like to listen to?
Jack Johnson. That's one of my favorite Pandora stations.
Cool. Now, what do you do for fun and hobbies outside of trading?
I really like to spearfish. I lived in Florida for a long time, and spearfishing is a big passion.
So is that like, do you stand in like the Karate Kid pose, like this, and then you throw it down, or are you swimming under?
No, you dive down
okay.
60, 120 feet, and you shoot them with a sling or gun. So
Very
it's
nice.
pretty
Very
cool.
nice. So like I see on my favorite TV show, Survivor, I know exactly what you're talking about now. See, Survivor is very educational. All right, one final question. Yeah, I'm giving you 3 words, and these 3 words need to describe what you think is associated with a successful trader.
I can't use the same word for all 3. I
Nope.
would.
Well, actually, you can. If you think it really is going to prove a point, then yeah, that's the first time. So yeah, if you think so, I know what your word's going to be, but I think that would actually provide a really good point.
Just paper, paper, paper.
Paper. I thought it was going to be practice, so you bamboozled me there. Paper, paper,
There's only
paper.
one word. I couldn't do both.
Oh, that's true. I guess paper trading is too. That's true. That's true. I would have given it to you, but so paper, paper trader, or paper, paper, paper. In other words, practice, practice, practice. That's the first time we've had anybody use one word for the 3 words, but I fully agree with and understand why he would choose to do that. Well, Curtis, I got to admit, this was probably not as fun as hanging out in person in Chicago, but I mean, thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks for having me.
And hopefully, I'm sure we'll have you back at some point in time, and we'll be interviewing you while you're cruising around in your, who knows what you're going to have, a Lambo chopper. You're going to have something cool, I'm sure. So thanks again for hanging out. And for those of you listening, want to make a quick little request. If you are listening to this on claytrader.com, go ahead and please leave us a comment below. Click that share button. Those things really let us know that you're enjoying the show and help us out. And as always, Ches and I, we read the comments, so give us any sort of feedback. And if you're listening on iTunes, then again, leave us a rating, and just let us know that you're listening, that you're enjoying, and just give us feedback. Things like that really do go a long way. So thank you everybody for hanging out, and we will see you back for the next episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.